Guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel, and we're going to do another piece of long form content, and we're going to tell you or show you or discuss all of the three above, how to underwrite a multi-family deal. Now, I know there are a lot of real estate investors out there, and I know there are a lot of guys that are in the multifamily space, but let me just give you the simple definition of what multifamily is. It is 5 units or more. So residential goes from 1 to 4, where you have a certain type of loan, and then anything above 4, which is 5, becomes a commercial loan. And that would be the multi-family, that would be an apartment community, not an apartment building, and that would be a residential location. And in my opinion, you want to be in space that's 100 to 200 units, and our minimum is 200 units. But I want to talk to you about how simple this process is. Because if you buy one piece of property, you buy a 4-unit building versus buying a 40-unit building or a 400-unit building, you are still going to go through the same process. This is a process-driven business. So what are you going to do? You're going to pick a market that you want to be in. So, number one, find your market. Okay? Now, why is it so important to find your market? Because you want to be in a market that meets certain elements of growth. You don't want to be in such a sub or tertiary market where the nearest Starbucks is 20 miles away. The nearest Walmart is 5 miles away. So that's a key indicator that if you're in the right market, the Starbucks effect, the Walmart effect, the Target effect, the major retail effect definitely shows a stabilized spot. So when we look at deals, we look at markets that have density, that have low levels of occupancy, and that have the ability for us to move the rent per square foot higher by doing certain strategic improvements. So once we found our market, the second thing we want to do is start to cultivate relationships in that market with commercial real estate brokers. Commercial brokers, okay? Now make sure you pick the right broker, because I will tell you, the wrong broker will try to shove something down your throat, and you don't want that. Because as I've said before, this is a process-driven business. So you are going to find a deal and you are going to underwrite it. And you're going to underwrite it in a very simple manner. Why? Because they all underwrite the same. Depending on the asset class, and as you know, in multifamily, we have D product, we have C product, we have B product, and we have A product. Now we're going to be talking about B product, maybe B minus product, because that's going to give you the biggest lift in value, because you're going to be able to strategically add value through renovations, through reduction of expenses, and then you're going to be able to go through the re-renting process, which is typically a 12 and a 24-month cycle, unless you can do it faster. And there are some property managers that do it faster. So the first thing you do is you've identified a property. You're going to ask the broker for the financials. They're going to give them to you. So they're going to give you a T12. Let me just write this down. They're going to give you the T12. That T12 is going to show you what's the operating numbers for the last 12 months. They're either going to be selling it at a distressed situation, or they're going to be trying to sell it above the market. All right. Now, what you really want to do is forget the T12, and you want to drill down to the last 90 days. That is your T3. And it's going to show you typically what the property is doing. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the gross income, all right? You're going to adjust for vacancy and loss, and I'm going to say you're going to take out 15%, and then you're going to have 85% of an adjusted gross income, AGI. Once you get to that adjusted gross income, you're going to go through the expenses. You're going to look at what they historically have been, and then you're going to see any anomalies in the expense side and what you can do and what you can correct. Can you pass through to the residents electric, water, sewer? What can you pass through? Can you create a resident unit billing system, which is a RUBS system? That's also a way of passing it through. Can the renovation move the rent from $1 a square foot to $1.50 a square foot, which is a big jump? But when you do all these things, and once you've started to understand the process, it becomes a seamless process. Now, we're going to take our expenses, whatever they are, and you're going to deduct them, and you're going to get your net operating income, okay? Your NOI. That NOI is going to correlate to a capitalization rate in the market. It's also going to correlate to the capitalization rate that you are looking to buy the property under. So, when you're selling, you want to sell at a lower cap rate. When you're buying, you want to buy at a higher cap rate. So that higher cap rate is going to give you a higher return, higher movement. When you sell, you're going to get a higher price at a lower cap rate. Hence, if you have $100,000 in income and you sell at a 10 cap, what's that? That's $1 million. If you sell at a 5 cap, that's $2 million. There you go. So the math isn't so hard. What it is finding the right asset. Then once you put it under letter of intent to a contract, from the contract, you go through your due diligence, you get your financing, you make sure that the asset is actually what it is by going through severe due diligence. You bring in your associated professionals, you bring in your team, you're going to remarket this asset, you're going to create a whole new resident profile. So you're rebranding the asset. You're taking something that's old, like an old car, you're repairing it and you're making it new. And you're creating that value. This is not hard. You just have to be taught how to do it, and it's process driven. So I hope this gets you off the sidelines and gets into it. And we're going to continue to make long form videos that teach you real value that you can take to the bank and you can do some deals with. Let's go!